What's going on, family? So, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Words of Power. It's a series that over time we're going to go over and delve into deeper. But I wanted to just give you guys some background information for those that are looking to understand what magic words are, what words of power are, how to heal yourself using your voice and and understanding neurolinguistics. Okay, so I work very closely with a Kemetic system called the Asarian system, and in the Kemetic culture, there exists a deity, a neter called Heka. This is a very, very, very old divinity within the system who essentially represents what we call magic, the power of words, the power of creation through frequency tuning. That's what represents. This later, if you ask me, got translated into the Greek culture, the ancient Greek culture, as Hecate, who was the goddess of magic in that culture. And essentially, the way Words of Power works is that by identifying, and if you guys go back and look at a video I just posted recently about the Asarian system, I talk a little bit about Asar and a little bit about Amen. Now, Amen represents uh, energy in its purest form, meaning that in fact that's even a little paradoxical because energy in its purest form is formless, right? And when we recognize, if we were to think of, for example, a lake of water, a cup of water, Bruce Lee used to say, be like water, right? Because at the point in which you are formless and you're able to see that within yourself and see that within other things, at that point, you can, in fact, transform the energy of these things into another form, right? Which we can call transmutation, right? And when we're using words of power, we're first looking inwards and we're recognizing our own purity. We're recognizing our own innate innocence and potential for creation and for creating, right? So when we are able to recognize that within ourselves, at that point we can look into other things, people, situations, etc., and understand them from a point not of judgment, but of observance of their purity. Okay, when we begin to chant, and you guys can observe this better and I believe the practice is called somatics, where they observe vibration and how matter is affected by distinct vibrations like voice, etc. So as we begin to chant, um, this may not seem apparent on a three-dimensional level, but as you're able to understand and take your mind into the other metaphysical dimensions of reality, you'll notice that these things are transforming. These things are taking other shapes and attuning to other frequencies. This is also because as we chant, we are tuning ourselves to a new frequency, to a specific frequency. Whereas before we were kind of laying idle, right? Especially if you're not much of a person who meditates or looks within themselves, and you're just getting into the practice. But as we chant, you know, we are also changing, right? And this is changing our perspective of things. This is changing the factors that are governing our reality, and it brings us into a new space. Now, I'm gonna be serious. For those who have the knowledge, when you use the words of power, things will change. And in order for that to be effective, we also have to always keep in mind that this has to be activated. Okay? The inner and outer third eye has to be activated. We have to keep it in mind as we're chanting. Okay? Once the chanting is over, we let things take the form that they need to take. And in most cases, if you've been doing the work long enough, you will recognize the different signs. Maybe later on we'll talk about those signs more specifically. But for those who already do the work, you recognize the signs. For those who are just beginning to do the work, you have to let go of all expectations after you finish chanting. Let go of all expectations and allow things to take form in the way that they must, because each word of power is an entity in themselves. And we must recognize their own wisdom. We must recognize their own power and allow them to do the work that we called them forth to do. Okay? So we're gonna be getting into this a little bit more. It's a lot of information. It gets complex. It gets very medicinal, and it even gets a little, addictive when you're chanting words that particularly resonate with you or help you to get through certain types of work. So we'll get into this more in future videos, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of info now. Drop a comment, say what's up, let me know what you think.